Good evening. Harvey has formed right now. That's the breaking news, and we'll have more on it at the start of the stream coming up in just 12 minutes time. Also, Gert has turned post-tropical just now, and we'll have the Skype team with us at the top of the hour in just a few moments. Harvey's expected to move through the Caribbean and could become a hurricane before striking the Yucatan Peninsula or Central America in the next 5 days. We'll catch you in a few moments. live coverage continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool 13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Good evening, this is Force 13 Live. My name's Nathan Foy, and at some point you'll be able to see me on the screen because that's what the title implies. Hello, here I am. And it's not just myself here during this hour, by the way. We're joined by the Skype team right now, but Tropical Storm Harvey has just formed in the Atlantic, literally in the last 10-20 minutes if you've been watching. Also, Tropical Cyclone Hurricane Gert has weakened and turned post-tropical at the same time, down to 65 miles per hour. And obviously watches and warnings are in effect in the Lesser Antilles. Right now, well, there's another picture of it, and the other webcam of me over there in the top left-hand side, so you don't miss a thing of what's going on in the studio. It's not particularly exciting in here anyway, so we'll just gloss over that. We're joined by the Skype team this hour, consisting of David, Craig, Jason, and Dane. Good evening.
Good evening, and good to be back again.
And there they are. Craig is with a Rubik's Cube this hour.
Yes, I am. I've been trying to solve it all day, and I've not gotten any closer. I've only got halfway through solving the yellow side.
Oh, will you tell us when you solve it, Craig?
I've been attempting for the last 3 days, Dane.
Goodness gracious me.
You know,
And that's quite a laugh right there.
There are people who can solve Rubik's cubes in like
within 5 seconds.
so-
Yes, I know. Don't rub it in.
Okay. Well, before we get on to those little interesting points here, let's actually go on to what's serious. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Harvey will reach Barbados first, obviously. Obviously, the tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are expected within 24 to 36 hours. I expect it's going to be quite a bit less, at least for Barbados. And a tropical storm watch is in effect for Dominica, which means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area in the next 24 to 36 hours. If you've got any comments or questions for us whilst we're on the air, do let us know, and we'll obviously respond. I don't know how long we're going to be running for tonight. You may have noticed that we weren't on for the Tropical Weather Bulletin last night. That's because there were storms at HQ, believe it or not. That was the reason behind that. Storms at HQ was the official reasoning, and I was filming them, and you'll see them pop up somewhere online soon. Well, Craig, you seem most, well, you're the only one we can see right now, so would you like to start us off on your thoughts on Harvey?
Well, Harvey's been one of the storms to watch so far, along with its other other disturbances alongside of it, 92L and then a possible 93L, but that's a bit in the questions yet. As far as I know, the NHC has got another it's got the other disturbance at a low chance for now. It was at, I think, 40% earlier today, but now it's down to 30. Once the screen share will load.
Oh, that would be nice.
When I get it up, it would help.
There it is. So this is what we've got going on in the Atlantic right now.
A big mass.
Here's this thing it was known as Gert. Let's just leave that alone. Let it race off at 40 miles an hour, even though it says 39, but still. Here's the other disturbances. Literally left Africa for about 2 or 3 days ago. It was at 40% in the 5 days earlier today, but now it's been down to 3. Down to 3. Whoa. Today's been terrible. It's down to 30% the next 5 days. Also, 92L.
Those two are heading in the same direction as well. It would appear that they're heading off towards north of the Lesser Antilles and the Greater Antilles, actually. And where would they go next? Any idea?
Well, the models, as far as I've seen, one in particular, GFS, takes 92L north of the Lesser Antilles, doesn't form it in the last few runs, but one of the runs formed it and had it becoming a hurricane, passing north of the Bahamas, maybe hitting the Bahamas, and then hitting northern Florida as a Category 1 hurricane, and then moving up the South Carolinas into North Carolina and so on.
Could you show us the NHC cone on Harvey there?
Here's our newborn. Oh, the Atlantic newborn.
It's fairly small, much as what you'd expect for these main development region low latitude cyclones. So
earlier, in advisory, quote unquote advisory 1 for PTC 9 as it was, Harvey now, it was forecasting a Category 1 hurricane to make landfall in Belize, but now it is forecasting a 70 mile per hour tropical storm to make landfall in Belize. Yes.
Are you showing that right now, or are we lagging behind here?
You should be seeing it on the screen.
Oh, there it is now, yes.
Okay.
Yes, there it is.
Right, I was moving a little bit quick. So as you can see here, it was forecasting a hurricane to make landfall in Belize.
I think it still could, but now...
I think it still could be
hurricane. Now NHC think it's going to do a Chantal of 2001.
Oh. But then I think the reason why they've chopped hurricane off is because I think they've taken this point here on Monday further south, closer towards Honduras or Nicaragua.
They certainly have.
That's maybe one of the reasons why they've taken hurricane off the forecast. But to be honest, it could still
doesn't
be
make much difference, does it? Really?
No, not really, because a hurricane could either happen say on Saturday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It could happen any time. Except, obviously, it will not happen from any of these days here.
Of course, some of the
Obviously,
models thought that this would be a very severe storm. The HMON, I don't think it actually had anything in particular, but the HWRF was very bullish on this and still is to a degree, saying Category 2.
Yes. I think we'll have a look at the models right now.
Category 2 a bit like quite. I mean, this could also be quite similar to Ernesto as well of 2012.
It could be. It could be very similar. But we'll just have a look at the models whilst we're about them. Once they load. Because the last GFS run, this one in particular, there you can see Gert at the top of your picture.
Somewhere.
Somewhere is
a white screen right now.
White screen, so it's still on the moment of loading.
It's because could you? Well, I mean, I know we'd like both, but if you could turn your webcam off there, it'll probably run quicker for us.
No, yeah, no one wants to see my horrible face.
Well, we already got to see you with the Rubik's Cube at the intro, so
yeah.
Hopefully, it will aid our speed
to
here.
Stop responding.
Yes, we always get these technical difficulties. So there's Gert near the top, right?
Yes, this
That's
thing
current.
here. Oh well, it'll work now. Come on, thank you. That thing. But once the GFS speeds up a little bit, I might
And
get
well, whilst we wait for that, someone asked about Gert and whether it would be coming to the UK.
Well, some of the models have been saying that what's left of Gert will make it to the UK. But to be honest, by then the only thing that we should really bring is, you know, some maybe high winds, heavy rain. Rain obviously being the main feature of it. To be honest, I don't really see any major threat with it unless it becomes, obviously, the jet stream gets a lot stronger than what it already is at, and then helps Gert out. But to be honest, I think Gert will just go north of the UK, as what the NHC basically been saying. Go north of the UK, set up there. Apparently, some of the models have been saying that it will stall. I think GFS said that as well. The GFS now they've got it actually hitting my home country, Scotland. Thank you very much. And then moving south, but then obviously clearing off into the North Sea. So not really doing much because it's near enough fizzled out by the time it's even got near the British Isles. So
okay, well,
to be honest,
what's GFS saying about Harvey?
Oh, let's on to the main tropical features here.
Yep.
So you can see Harvey at basically the bottom of your picture at 1007. Can you?
See, we're so far behind here, Craig. We're struggling. Okay, now we can see sort of a little bit of the trend there. Yep, there it is going backwards, and now you might want to bring it forwards again.
Forward.
But it doesn't look like doesn't look like it's going to do much over there in the Caribbean, according to the GFS model, which is somewhat surprising.
But from what I'm seeing here, they've got 92L producing gales to its north.
Oh yes.
And that's I think Skype. God damn it!
So that's the one right behind.
18 hours.
The one right behind Harvey.
Right behind.
Yeah. Off towards the northeast.
Yes, but you said white behind or something like
right behind Harvey.
But here's Harvey moving into the Caribbean, pretty much nearly fizzling out there. Then, see, it's basically Sayonara Gert. Gert?
Oh, yeah.
Where the heck am I getting?
Gert's
there's
gone.
Gert.
We know about that. We know about
Gert's up there. But there goes Harvey. And they don't really develop 92L. They don't develop the other disturbance behind it. To be honest, that's not what I was expecting the GFS to do over recent behaviours with it. But I'm not going to go any further out because then they say a hurricane will form in East Pacific and become a major. Let's just not go there. ECMWF, once it loads, they were saying that Harvey was obviously to develop
if we get
because these are the older images.
And what do we actually think will happen in the Eastern Caribbean with Harvey? Will it? Maybe we should go on to something else whilst the models aren't being particularly helpful with us here, Craig. But
when it comes,
Dane,
to answer what Nathan said about Harvey in the Eastern Caribbean, I don't think it's necessarily going to fall apart and dissipate quite like Brett and Don did. I think that, I think it'll survive. I don't think it'll necessarily strengthen in the Eastern Caribbean, but I don't think it'll necessarily drop down to a remnant low.
Oh,
so maybe it'll be a tropical depression to the Eastern Caribbean, maybe.
Really?
Well, on the screen share, you should be seeing the shear tendency. So here's what the conditions are at the minute, according to the 18 UTC wind shear.
A tiny bit of an image. That connection needs to improve, really. Okay,
Come
we've
on,
got it
BC.
now. There's Gert right in that massive wind shear, and then we look down to the Caribbean area there, and Harvey.
Gert's about here.
Yep, Harvey is in fairly low wind shear environment, extending into the Eastern Caribbean there, so it could intensify before crossing through those islands. And it's going to happen pretty soon, by the way. It's moving at some pace.
And then, well, we look up here. There's the jet stream, and there's the thing that was called Gert. And then Harvey. I think what could really help Harvey out here is the wind shear to the north and the south. If there's outflow to the north, which there should normally be, it should be getting a little bit of a helping hand, being enhanced, so that the storm can get its energy that's used out and then get some new energy in from the south.
And then there's some higher wind shear over in the Central Caribbean there.
Yeah.
Do you think that Harvey will be sufficient enough to push it away a little bit?
Well, from what I've been seeing, this thing has actually been moving away, because I remembered this piece of shear was actually over Puerto Rico, and you're not going to look like it was actually going to move towards what was 91L before Harvey was born. It was actually going to kill Harvey, so I thought it was bye-bye 91L. But obviously it's moved more to the west, moved away from Harvey. So Harvey might actually have a chance to strengthen a little bit, maybe not rapidly, but strengthening I could definitely
when was the last time you saw a rapidly intensifying storm in the Eastern Caribbean? Probably 10 years. At this time of year.
Omar, maybe? No, that was a different time of year.
Because if it was, say, October, which thank God it isn't, not yet, then
don't mention that one.
We're not gonna.
We've already gone to Matthew. No, I was thinking more about Dean actually.
Dean.
Wow. Anyway, we're looking at some statistics earlier, and Belize hurricanes in August are pretty rare. There's only ever been 3, and Earl is one of them from last year. The other 2 was a hurricane in 1918 and one in 1864. So that goes to show how unlikely a Belize hurricane landfall in August is. That is what the National Hurricane Center predicted earlier today, but is now slightly off it to 70 miles an hour. Dave?
Yeah.
Hey, that's one thing that 1918 and 2017 have in common that isn't called an eclipse crossing from the east to west, from the west coast to the east coast.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Wow. But,
so that's another one for your checklist viewers. The eclipse has now been mentioned as well. And
Jesus Christ.
And people talking about steering hurricanes in the comments as well. That sounds fun.
Steering hurricanes.
Well, the only way you can steer hurricanes is the steering currents. What are they saying, Craig?
Well, this is mid-level wind shear, so...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's not really going to help us which way it's moving, but to be honest, it can help us what the mid-level structure could end up being affected by. To be honest, here, Gert, well, I'm tempted to say Gert is still on that wind shear graphic.
Yep.
Take Gert off it.
Gert's gone. Gert's post-tropical, if you missed the update just now.
Yes, Gert. I can't say it. Gert has gone post-tropical. You can see Harvey, where it's supposed to is around about here somewhere where my mouse is. Wind shear, mid-level shear is moving into Harvey, and Harvey's moving against it. That could cause problems for the mid-level structure for Harvey. That could either decouple it or erode the structure that was there. to causing Harvey a little bit of problems. But looking at it in general, to be honest, it's not really strong. It's not like it's gonna rip it apart strong. It's not like what happened to, what was it, Adrian and EPAC, where it got completely ripped to shreds by mid-level wind shear. It's not that strong. Whereas
was
Harvey,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it went from full-blown convection to what the heck happened. But
yeah, one or two questions on whether Harvey will move into the Eastern Pacific.
I think it's too early to say anything about that.
Craig is exasperated over there.
Well,
with that
moving
question.
into the EPAC, I'd say I don't really see it moving into the Eastern Pacific. None of the models have been saying he's supposed to move into the East Pac. He might, but I don't really. That's really, really low chances of happening. To be honest, with what the general model consensus have been saying, it's not going to make it into the EPAC, regardless of what happens, conditions, landfall, anything. I think, yeah, Harvey will just move the way it's supposed to be moving, which is towards Belize, and move into the Caribbean and potentially become close to a hurricane, if not a hurricane, before a landfall in Belize, maybe way before it. It's up to what Harvey wants to do, really, because Harvey can do is the thing that wants to do what it wants. It can intensify, it can weaken,
Dane, what are your
I'm willing
thoughts
to
on
see what Harvey does.
What are your thoughts on Harvey?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was kind of a little lost for a second there. When it comes to Harvey, I think that if it sticks on a northerly track, that the previous cone from the previous advisory was showing, then I think that it would definitely reach hurricane status. However, for the meantime, I wouldn't say anything for certain about intensity or anything beyond the cone, honestly.
All right. If you've got any comments or questions for us whilst we're here, do send them in. I can't see all of them at the same time, however. It would help us if you did start your message with Force 13 all in text. In the meantime, David, are you here?
I am here, and I'm just going to have a look at the tracks, but I think it'll head up over the Yucatan.
Right. Craig, this is the Saharan air layer that we're looking at.
Yes, it is. Well, it says it all, really. Here's Harvey, and here's 92L, and somewhere's that disturbance somewhere. That disturbance doesn't
near
really
Africa,
look like
low latitude.
I think that's where it is in correlation to the NHC. I'm not really going to bother looking.
Do you think that one's one to watch, or?
At the minute, not for now, because obviously here's the massive area of Saharan dust, and this is probably strong enough to rip this apart. I'd say for now, until obviously this salve does not become a danger to this disturbance, then it could become something to watch. At the minute, I would say 92L and Harvey are the ones to watch. I was watching this big area of convection here, and I was having a look at that on Mimic DPW, and it had a circulation in it, but it wasn't really much of one, but a little bit of rotation, and it is moving rather quickly, but I'll keep a close eye on it. I don't think it'll become anything, too worrying. It shouldn't really become a tropical entity.
Yeah.
But here's the Saharan dust north of Harvey. Yeah. North of Harvey. It's not really looking like it's going to pose a major threat to Harvey. It might cause a little bit of fluctuation in terms of cloud structure. We've seen that in a few IR images that is structure has been up and down here and there. But to be honest, I think once Harvey gets out of range of it, Harvey should be off and underway.
Connor Armstead wants to know, could Harvey affect the USA?
Well,
that's unlikely because
to say,
the other invests are going to move further north. Those have a higher chance of affecting the US.
yeah. Part of me wants to say it's too early to say that it will affect the US because, to be honest,
it's looking unlikely.
Yes, it is looking a little bit unlikely, but there is that small chance it might. But I'm not saying it will. It might, but there's the part that's saying, nah. That's a very small chance of it doing so in my mind. From what we all know, it's a really small chance of that happening. But anything's possible.
Realistically, the only possible track through which Harvey could impact the United States would probably be if it started to turn northwest in the Caribbean and head towards Texas. But
or if it
turned that is not happening.
Or if it turned northwest just before the landfall in Belize or the Yucatan.
Yeah, well, that is still an open question, really, isn't it?
Yeah. That's probably where, if it doesn't do that, then it won't hit the US. If it does do it, then it might. But to be honest, I don't really want to go in to see what it's going to do when it leaves, or when it's going to hit the Yucatan or not, and what it's going to do after that, because it's far too early to tell. It's far too early to put the nail in the paper saying it's going to do this, and it may do this at X amount of days or X day, whatever. It's far too early to say in my mind whether it's going to hit the States. I think it will hit. I think it'll either hit Belize or the Yucatan. For now, I'm going to agree with what the NHC is saying for now.
I might be throwing you off here, but someone wants to know, what do we think about 92W?
Oh, sorry, that was a thing.
That exists.
These guys don't know. 92W. I believe that's been around for a short amount of time. It is a high latitude storm, another one that's out at sea. Yeah, any satellite imagery of that?
I don't even see 92W on the JTWC. I don't even see it.
Well, it will be there. We'll come back to that when these guys get themselves sorted out.
92W, from what I've seen, does not do much of. It's not really much. I think it's just nothing but convection. Let me see here. Oh yeah, there it is. The screenshot, obviously, once it catches up, because I don't want to move too quick to the screen.
David, that sounds like you breathing into the mic.
Apology. I just had a screen shared up on the track for Harvey.
Oh dear.
You have that?
If it's showing up, I have it.
No, because I'm still screen sharing.
Yeah. Though I have to say, you might have to give way to David a little bit there, because I think he's got a better connection. So, but you can talk to us about this, of course, and you can see the model spread there for what is now Harvey. It's still shown as a low invest there. It's somewhat out of date from 12 Zulu. It doesn't make much difference. You can see that the models seem to be pretty confident in it reaching the Western Caribbean. One or two taking it into Central America there, Honduras, Nicaragua, dissipation there. But most of them take it through the Yucatan Peninsula, and then after that, uncertainty. You can see as far as probably the just south of Corpus Christi, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. In Texas, at least. Another one further south there near Brownsville, and lots of others in Mexico, and a lot of Franklin-type paths. Well, apart from emerging into the East Pac part.
Yes.
But
that's what Franklin nearly did, but Franklin didn't make it.
Right. But there you go. You can see quite not much confidence after the experience with the Yucatan. But it does appear that a Belize landfall is a distinct possibility, and even for Mexico as well. Of course, it'll be over Mexican soil eventually. And this is something we've been somewhat worried about this season. The early indications from the season back in May showed that Mexico would be probably in for a bad season on both sides of the continent, Atlantic and Pacific. And the Yucatan Peninsula we had down as one of the hotspots this year. So it would favour a Yucatan landfall at this point. The model consensus is pretty much there, apart from the small possibility it could move further south. It doesn't look like it will move further north and enter the Gulf, say. The northern Gulf, at least.
And I don't know whether, we want to go on to the other invest in the Eastern Pacific 93E, and also this weird basin that has decided to wake up and give us an invest, or two invests, called this thing called the Central Pacific that went missing for an entire year.
All right, we'll talk about these now because David's hurrying over and getting some imagery for us. This is the first one. This is the invest in the Eastern Pacific 93, you say?
Yes.
Yes.
93E there. You can see the coast of Mexico off to the northeast. And that could well develop, you never know.
Yeah, the National Hurricane Center has that at 80% in the next 5 days and 60% in the next 48 hours. They say that a tropical depression is likely to form by early next week, with while the system moves west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles per hour.
We'll get back to Harvey shortly, but David, could you bring us Invest 92L as well, because quite a few people are asking about that. And whilst David shows us that, Craig can give us the rundown. No, not over there, further right. Is it not there on that map? No, it isn't, is it?
It should be.
That's a shame.
Or is it not visible? Oh, well, never mind then.
It's not on that map. Whoever made that.
Yes.
Not on there.
Yeah.
Hold on, hang on.
90,
Yes,
I think this
please.
is 91C.
92L.
Storms.
Yep.
You found it. He's found it.
That's good.
Prepare to puke when you see 92L.
Well, it's not that bad. But Craig, what do you think it's going to do? Did I hear this right? Earlier someone told me that someone told them that this was the beginning of a Hurricane Andrew-like storm, and how preposterous might that be? Craig is sitting there with a straight face.
I don't know.
Doesn't make good television, Craig, when we can't see you.
No.
Personally, I think it's too far out to say anything about what
That is
about where 92L is gonna hit or what strength that it's gonna be.
Yes, that.
Wait and see.
One of the,
But it isn't looking
you
too
see all
bad
the
right
price
now.
dip,
And
yeah.
what are the percentage chances? 60%, did they say?
Let's have a look. I think it was 60%. I think one of the estimations were. I think that was for 5 days. I'll just confirm that. Once the NHC hurries up, come on. Once Skype stops slowing my computer down. Yes, 48 hours at 60%, and 5 days at 60% as well. So 60-60.
All right, yeah. So it looks fairly good, and I think it could well become the next storm as well.
It could. It's got a fairly decent chance.
The models, I think, are generally saying that it'll be very weak, aren't they? Unless something's changed.
Some of the models are. Some of the models are. GFS is. Well,
do we still have
global.
faith in the HWRF, anyone? I gotta say,
Well,
the HWRF and the HMON models said that GERT would be a Category 4, possibly 5. But for a brief period, 2 days ago, or yesterday, or whenever it was, GERT
yesterday
appear very, very good indeed. Only for about an hour. It had an eye temperature briefly of -4, I think it was, which and good eye wall temperatures, which would have correlated to 150 miles an hour if it kept it for 2 or 3 hours, but it didn't. It capitulated.
Personally, I think GOAT was stronger than they let us on to.
Oh well, yeah.
I honestly,
yeah.
I think it was
a wind estimate of 104 miles per hour in a Dvorak from from, I think was yesterday, of T5.5, we can average that out and estimate that goat was roughly 110 miles an hour.
It was probably a Category 3 in truth. But the point is, the HWRF and the HMON end up being closer to the mark than the other models. So do we still trust them? And bear that in mind when I talk about this. The HWRF model now is saying that Invest 92L will become a Category 1 Hurricane just south of Nassau, Bahamas, heading west.
Well, to be honest, that's interesting. Well, this is definitely going to be an interesting.
In other words, towards sort of the Keys.
Oh.
As a Category 1.
Well, I'm looking at EWF. They don't develop it, surprisingly. They only have Harvey. Let me just check HWRF.
I'm just going to check to see if they've got anything new on Harvey as well. And, well, Category 1, possibly Category 2 landfall in Belize is now what the HWRF is saying. Funny enough, does it survive the landfall? I think it does, actually, yes.
The Canadian...
Barely.
Oh, no.
The Canadian drops it to 96... Drops in 92L to 968.
Well, let's take a look at this now. Craig?
Oh, dear. I wonder if this Skype's going to...
We can see it all right. Do you want to talk us through it?
There's going to be a Skype rage in a minute because Skype is being slow.
I've got it on the screen.
It's just a good thing there's spaghetti models about.
Oh, is that David showing that still? Yep.
Yes, it's David's. I don't have those.
92L, the track.
Well, 92L, this is definitely going to be a storm to watch. Definitely.
So the HWRF thinks it will be a Category 1 approaching the Keys. The HMON, however, which is this new model, which is supposed to be very good, is it? Is
wow.
Well, it's doing down most of the storms so far, and it thinks that Invest 92 will be a minimal or maybe a moderate tropical storm, and then it will die northeast of Puerto Rico.
Well, looking at HWRF, they have a hurricane landfall on one of the Bahamas, on one of the islands in the Bahamas, as a Category 1. I'm just going to try and see if I wasn't looking at 850 millibар height, because if I was, I'm going to look like a right idiot, because I should have read that first.
Based on what you said about HMON, Nathan, I think that what you said there was actually pretty reasonable, specifying how the NHC has mentioned that conditions should be unfavorable for development once it goes north of the Antilles.
Do you think that's reliant on how Harvey does as to what conditions it generates in its wake? Or is it nothing to do with Harvey? It's quite a small system.
I don't know, honestly. I honestly do not know.
Wow. Just looking at HWRF on Invest 92L, they say a 75 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane on the 10-minute wind speed. So on one of the big islands in the Bahamas, a 75 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane. But the thing is, it only just becomes a hurricane as it's approaching the big island in the Bahamas.
Here's another one.
Hitting as a tropical storm.
Here's another
hurricane.
One for Invest 92L.
Oh dear.
Now
Category 2. Well,
the orange line, is it orange or red? I can't quite tell there. But the one highest up there on to the right hand side, that I think was one of the statistical models, isn't it?
TCLP.
So that isn't isn't really applicable. The OCD5 is probably not applicable either. The next one you've got is the one underneath that, which is the HWRF, which is the one we've just been discussing, and it is an outlier at the moment. And then that's the ship model, another statistical model, probably not very relevant. And then you look down, and then you've got quite a few more relevant models there. Generally saying a weak tropical storm, really weak to moderate. Only the HWRF is going out on a limb saying Category 1, but it went out on a limb with Gert and was nearly right.
Yeah. This is looking at going towards HMON. HMON, it performs pretty well. It performed pretty well with Hurricane Fernando in the EPAC, obviously because mainly it was a fish storm. But it forecasted an Iowa replacement pretty darn well, which I think is one of the new features with HMON is that it's supposed to be better at forecasting Iowa replacements. But
well, here's another one. This is for what is now Harvey on the screen. And
there's the outlier right away as that TCLP, a second category.
Another one not to look at. What were the ones we got to look at there? Well, let's see. Mainly the ones that say tropical storm, to be honest. And most
tropical
of them have
storm close to her.
I mean, a lot of those down there, some significant models are right down there, not even making it a tropical storm even. Well, that's wrong now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Down the date now.
HWFI, good lord.
But yeah, I think the National Hurricane Center has gone with the sort of midpoint of the model consensus, if there is one, for their forecast.
If there is one. No, GFS doesn't even give 92L a hope. It goes 92L error 404 92L not found. Sorry, that joke was completely awful. That's one I should be spending 5 years in jail for. That
right.
Trying to get H1 to load, see what they say for 92L. But Harvey is definitely going to be. It was obviously the main focus here. I just do not know what Harvey could peak as. I mean, Harvey could easily peak as a Category 1 hurricane, mid-range, Cat 1, I don't know. But tropical storm threat to the Yucatan, Caribbean at all.
Well, sooner than that, tropical storm warning still in effect, obviously, for Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Tropical storm watch for Dominica. It's going to arrive there very soon.
Nathan, I've got this for the team, 2 points. Sea surface temperature, considering the direction that Tropical Storm Harvey is moving, and also Craig and Dane, your thoughts on ocean heat content?
Yes. Well, we've seen what the SSTs are like. They're reasonably warm. They're favourable enough to support reasonably steady strengthening. Maybe not, certainly not rapid, because obviously, you've got wind shear and all that other factors. But the SSTs there are relatively warm. They should help Harvey intensify, maybe steadily, if conditions continue to be favourable.
I believe we're joined by Isaac.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Isaac, over in Texas. One or two of the outlier models are suggesting a Texas landfall for Harvey. Your thoughts?
Okay, bye now. See you guys
all right.
tomorrow.
Goodbye then.
He's done.
Is that it? Wonderful.
Yeah. So
only one says that. The rest of them say it will move much further south.
That was Isaac, everybody.
You may have seen him in our past shows. And as you can see, there's the latest photogrammetry on Harvey as it approaches Barbados. And Craig or Isaac or anyone, what do you think of its structure right now? It appears that some of its cloudiness is running ahead of it, maybe, and it's getting a little bit stretched on visible imagery, perhaps.
Well, mind you, it is moving relatively
15
quickly.
knots.
It is moving a bit quick, maybe because I was looking at it this morning, and the convection looked to be getting ahead of it. Maybe the convection was moving faster than the center, but it might be the other way around. didn't really look into it much, but I know the system is moving at a fair, decent speed. It's not moving slow, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got the sea surface temperatures there, David.
Sea surface temperature, I've actually taken it off at 28, 29 Celsius.
Yeah.
It's favourable enough for Harvey and what he needs.
Around 27, 28 for 92L, I think. Maybe slightly less than that.
If any storm makes it to the Gulf, then you definitely want to keep a close eye on it, because look at all those 30, 31 Celsius sea surface temperatures. That is definitely very, very favorable.
And I think this is one of the reasons why the HWR thinks 92L will become a hurricane. It doesn't really do much up until, round about at this point, Bahamas, and then it really ramps up. And to be honest, I really.
But it is one run, and it'll probably change next time.
That's true. It probably will say, "Oh, by the way, we're not going to say hurricane anymore. We're going to say at least tropical storm." But regardless of it, if Harvey does make landfall in Belize and does survive to get into the Gulf, there's sea surface temperatures there to really help it back up under its feet and get it going again.
And I believe we're joined now by Hank, if his audio works.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's Hank joining us
Hello.
from somewhat inland Texas. How are you doing?
I'm good. You could say that.
And what do you make about Tropical Storm Harvey?
Sheared mess with a closed low.
Well, that was Harvey's description from Hank, everybody.
Yeah.
So you're not fond of
Short
it?
but sweet.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a tropical storm. It should have been a while ago, but it just looks like a sheared mess. Reasoning because of that is there's easterly shear right now being triggered by a mid-level ridge over the main development region, or just to the north of that, really. And there's also, after it moves into the Caribbean, there's also a upper level low that's going to run into, and it's going to get sheared from pretty much the start as it gets into the Caribbean. And to outline this for you, do you mind if I steal screen share really quick?
Sure, go ahead, Hank.
All right.
Yep, we've had it for a while.
All right. So this is the overall. This is the big picture, really. So here's Harvey right here. Here's 92L if you're curious. And you
got it
see.
up there yet? I don't think it's gone. Oh, here it comes.
Okay. So here's the upper level low that I was talking about. Here's Harvey moving towards the Caribbean. And as it moves into the Caribbean, it's going to be encountering this. And this is going to induce some northerly shear. And that will prevent it from getting too strong, as if it really would get strong anyways anywhere in the eastern half of the Caribbean. But then this will eventually move into the Gulf of Mexico. And then this will end up somewhere around 80 west. And that's when it'll have a chance to start strengthening. But it won't have a very long window, because right after that you got land interaction, as it could, keyword could, hit Honduras and or northernmost Nicaragua. After that, it could try to divert a little bit north due to this low weakening due to the convection associated with Harvey and all this convection that it's fueling to the east of the center of the upper low. And once Harvey moves inland, it could stay inland, or it could be far enough north that if it hits Belize and moves in the Gulf, then it could have a brief window to re-strengthen. Probably won't get too strong. Nothing like Franklin or anything, but it could, regain some strength. But yeah, and the 92L just doesn't really have a chance, honestly.
Really?
Honestly, I don't think it does. You see this right here? See that? That's basically telling 92L that you won't be able to form anytime soon.
Say that to the HWRF, HMON, ECMWF. Yeah, say it to all them.
Let's see.
Because they think it's going to form.
Let's see. ECMWF makes it like, what, a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm? HWF means nothing now. HMON, like...
Oh.
More.
Whoa, really? That's a shame.
ECWRF was actually the closest one for goats.
Maybe not the closest, but it was it was pretty close.
Yeah, it was close.
Did it say like 155 or something outlandish like that?
That was the HMON. It said 160 at one point, believe it or not.
Well, okay, but what I'm trying to say, though, is that it's not looking too great for 92L, honestly, and it's got this... It's dealing with the TUT, and that is not good for a tropical system entering into it. And normally, when storms exit it, it becomes a lot more favorable, but then you got more shear coming from this low itself, as this will be moving slower, really, as it gets into the Gulf, and that could either help Harvey, because it'll be helping to induce some rising air, but it also is probably going to hinder it because it'll induce some northerly shear. And then 92L will honestly just probably might not even make it. First of all, it's got this drier pocket right here that it's trying to sustain. Yeah, it's diminishing right now, but short-term trends don't really mean too much with these types of waves. And I gotta say, the best chance it has, if it's going to strengthen, is if it recurves. If it keeps moving towards the Bahamas, then it'll have less of a shot. But it could get something going in the Bahamas area if it has enough time and if it has enough organization. It could move into the Gulf if it moves to the Florida Straits. Too far out to say, though. Harvey is the more imminent threat to land right now, and tropical storm warnings are posted for the Windward Islands, including Barbados, and tropical storm watches for a few islands north of those.
What do you think about the model spread for Harvey, and whether it will go south of consensus towards Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, as one or two models say? Belize seems to be the midpoint there, or perhaps north, and I can see one model actually taking it north of the Yucatan Peninsula, believe it or not. What do you think?
Yeah, but I also believe this model is statistical, right. So that's different. Yeah, that's pretty tight clustering right here. Skirting or making a brief landfall in Honduras and then hitting Belize. But keep in mind that's also 4 or 5 days out. And then some moving into the Bay Campeche and some don't. As far as intensity guidance goes, if I'm being honest, it'll probably... I still don't really understand why the NC showed a hurricane at first. Because it doesn't... I mean, if it's going to deal with all this wind shear and then land interaction, you're not going to get a hurricane out of this.
And I guess the chances of a hurricane haven't really dropped either, have they, really? Which makes it a head-scratcher.
Yeah,
They're already pretty low. I mean, it still could happen, though, couldn't it?
It could. I'm not saying it's not going to. I'm just saying that I'm not entirely sure what their reasoning was the initial time about. But regardless of whether or not it's a hurricane, it's going to be a heavy rainfall maker for Honduras, Nicaragua, Belize, Guatemala, Mexico, Central America, pretty much. And that's something that needs to be watched for significant landslides and mudslides that could occur. As far as what do you want? I forgot what it was. I just lost my train of thought. But if it goes north enough, if it stays farther north, ignore this, by the way, and if it stays north enough, and if it can get into more of the Western Caribbean, there is a lot of energy there. There's pretty high oceanic heat content, and if you get that to help the storm, then it could get stronger, and if it does get stronger, it'll be farther north. It'll be far north. It will probably hit Mexico instead of Belize. And I know that they've already had a storm, and they don't really need another one. Even though I heard that Franklin did minimal damage, but whatever. If it farther, bottom line, farther north, the stronger. Farther south, the weaker. That's
usually the rule.
Yeah, that's a general guideline with any wave, really.
But some people are then inevitably going to ask, if it gets stronger than expected, is it more likely to move through the Yucatan Channel into the Gulf?
Well, that's if it by some miracle becomes excuse me. That is by some miracle if it becomes a major, which I don't think is likely. I'm just gonna put that out there. And
one more thing for you. What did you think of the? I know I'm going off topic now, off that topic at least. But what do you think of the peak intensity of Hurricane Gert?
Okay.
Now that it's dead.
Here we go.
I think that this might sound a little bit outlandish, but I think it was a Cat 3.
Well, I do
in all
too.
honesty.
I second that.
Oh, well, okay. So, yeah, it just the Cat 2 peak. I just don't agree with it. Dvorak suggested major. One of my methods that's completely operational and kind of crap, really. Also say Cat 3. Just general satellite.
My method says Cat 3.
Just general satellite analysis suggests 3. Yeah, I know it was high latitude. You know, it wasn't.
It's going to be one of those that they're going to upgrade post-season analysis because they've got nothing else to do.
But for high latitude, that's impressive.
Fairly,
Yeah.
but all we have to do is go back to the 70s to find plenty more examples.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's 4 in the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah. It's just. I mean, they might make it 110. Now, I guess I'll just be like, whatever. If they make it a 3, I just be like, okay, cool, I
I
guess.
could understand 110,
Or
I guess.
Yeah.
110 would be my bare minimum. 115 would be my max.
150.
15. Jesus Christ.
I said 150. It's like, wait a minute.
Not bad. Hey, there were some more questions that we just go through before the end of this hour. What do you think of the Canadian smoke going into Hurricane Gert? Have we missed that? Is that what killed Gert?
No.
Sorry. What?
There were
I
some
don't
Canadian fires that have been going on. The smoke plume was heading towards Hurricane Gert.
No.
I'm not a rocket scientist, but I don't think wildfire smoke triggers a hurricane.
Not triggers a hurricane, but weakens it, actually.
Well, I mean, that could have actually somewhat helped it. Well, hindered it, rather. That could have helped it, rapidly weaken in the northern latitudes if the cold water shelf didn't break off and the shear increase. That could have been a slight part of it, but I guess we'll have to do more research into that. But
we'll have to think of it. I'll think about
Well,
it.
one of the main
Oh, someone
reasons
says you're being pessimistic about 92L, Hank.
I'm always pessimistic, trust me.
I don't think so. Sometimes I'm more pessimistic than you are. And, sometimes. Depends. Anyway,
Yeah.
Craig, have you got any further thoughts?
I have got no further.
Okay, fine. David, any breaking news?
I need off topic. This massive terrorist attack over in Barcelona, and the government's responding and say, that's including the federal government over here, Nathan. Unfortunately, fatalities, massive amount injured, and Australians caught up in it.
How? Oh, we'll get into that. We'll try not to turn political, but we'll see what's going on. Anyway, we'll have more for you in a few minutes' time. We're tracking Tropical Storm Harvey, and Gert is gone now, so that's pretty much all we're doing. And looking at the other invests in the next hour. We'll have more model fun, I expect, and plenty more besides. Stay tuned.
Bye.
coverage continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. And it's 11 o'clock here at Force 13 HQ. My name's Nathan Foy. Hello, good evening. And you're looking at the Force 13 webcam there, over here in the UK, and here's me. And also joined by the Skype team over there somewhere, joining us again for the second hour of our coverage on Tropical Storm Harvey and whatever's left of Gert, though I don't think that will be coming up in conversation very much anymore, and we'll be looking more at the Invest, and of course we'll be taking your comments and questions. We do encourage them if you have any for us. As I say, here is what Harvey looks like right now as it moves closer towards Barbados, and it's making progress as well. It's now only around 122 miles east or east-northeast of Barbados, and looks like rainfall and wind will start to occur there very soon, if not already. I did see one or two comments saying that they hadn't witnessed anything going on there yet, so we'll stay tuned on that. In this hour we're joined by Dane, Isaac, David, Craig and Hank. Good evening. Hank was the one you were listening to near the end of the last hour, and we've not heard from Isaac in a while, so I'll start with you if that's okay.
Okay. Well, we're obviously Gertz is no more. Also the same with Typhoon Banyan.
Yes, that hasn't
That's
got
been the
mentioned
case for a
so
little
far
bit.
either.
Banyan should be moving over towards the Lucian Islands there. Not hitting it, but like going near it, and then eventually making its way towards the coast areas of mainland Alaska later on as an extratropical storm. Yeah, that's what the models are saying on it. Then we have Gert is dead. Then we have Harvey now, which is the main concern at this point. And then we have the Central Pacific area of interest. What Dane is showing, the TCFA, I think that is the Tropical Cyclone Formation Alert.
Formation alert there.
Yep, just
and then we also have one. We also have one in the Eastern Pacific too. I forgot what the chances are on that one were though. And we also have the active Atlantic right now too.
It's 60% in the next 48 hours, 80% in the next 5 days.
So that looks like it's going to be another East Pacific tropical storm there.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at model runs and they're forecasting it to become a tropical storm. So we'll see what happens with that one. I don't really know what else to say, so I'm going to give it to Hank, I guess.
Well, actually, I just need to bring it back first of all because I just need to announce the warnings that are currently in effect. For Harvey, a tropical storm warning for Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and a tropical storm watch for Dominica. And those warnings, well, if the storm keeps... I mean, you remember when we were tracking, I think it might have been Don, or one of the other storms, and it ended up tracking further south than what the forecast was saying. Do you think Harvey might do that as well and trigger some watches or warnings along the South American coast yet again?
Honestly, don't really think so, because if anything, the track might have to deviate a little bit further north in the short term. Long term, it can stay where it is, but
at the moment, it appears to me to be moving due west.
Yeah.
It could be on track for Barbados landfall, actually.
It could, but as you can tell, my commentary right now is rather dull, so I'm sorry about that. I think that it will probably stay on track. It's pretty tight knit for these next. I would say it's pretty tight knit within the next couple days. Really, the entire forecast track is. So I can't really see this deviating any farther south than what the model consensus says, and none of the models say it will get really close to South America. If anything, it will move north. So I don't think this will be like Brett or Don or anything like that. So
here's an interesting question. If all the models are wrong, why don't you start your own model? Well, first of all...
I don't think we can launch satellites
first of all,
into space, can we?
Not satellites, models, computer models. First of all, the models aren't wrong all of the time, and not right all the time either. But you get the model consensus, and the model consensus is pretty tight-knit that Harvey will move into the Western Caribbean and make landfall in Central America somewhere. We don't quite know what intensity. They still need to do a little bit more work on intensity sometimes. But if we made our own model, it would be probably worse than all the others. So, you know.
Yeah.
And that would cost money too.
Yeah, something like that.
So the model consensus right now shows it moving due west. Our model will probably just like take a recurve right now. So you never know.
But I do, you know, it is funny to see sometimes how much money is spent on computer models and the supercomputers needed to run them. Millions. And they're still not always right. You'd expect for all that money they'd get it right a little bit more, but hey, there we go. Nature is so complicated.
Yeah, GFS was actually worse after the upgrade.
Yeah. How is that so?
A quote-unquote upgrade.
Alright, who's showing us this? We got a
Dan.
decent view of the model.
Yep, it's me.
Craig tried to show us these earlier on, but unfortunately his signal gave out.
Well, I can show us the models right now if you would like.
Yeah, but well, we did that early on in the first hour, so for any new people joining us, they can take a look as well, and we can get a proper look here.
Yeah, actually, can you switch to 10-meter winds? Because 850 millibars can kind of be a little bit deceiving. Because it shows higher winds in actuality. Okay.
Alright, so we're seeing Harvey moving into Belize there.
As a wave.
Okay, yeah.
Silly GFS.
Hold on. Early in that model run, does Harvey dissipate real quickly there? There's okay. That's still alive. Probably tropical depression there.
It dissipates. I think quite about there.
Then it's just about it's gone by that point. Long gone.
It actually it dissipates right at pretty much 70 west. If you look at the wind barbs, you can kind of tell that the circulation opens up.
Around there.
Yeah, kind of. You can see how it's moving. You see how it's moving straight south and not straight west.
So it's going to struggle. I mean.
Oh, I in here.
Do you think that's fair, Hank? That it's going to struggle that much?
Maybe not that.
I mean,
GFS kind of. Well, I mean, GFS does downplay the Atlantic a lot now, so I don't think it'll be that bad.
Yeah, and in return, it makes Nauru 865 millibar typhoon.
Yeah. Let's just move on from that and forget that ever happened.
The GFS will want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, now what we're looking at here.
Well, actually, stay here. Just stay here. Might give a view for this.
DCMWF. And you can see 92L there as well. Where's that going?
Looks like it basically takes 92L to dissipate, but it moves future 93L.
Oh, goodness.
Whatever. Basically, we curves it near the Antilles and Bermuda, and seems to dissipate it in a pretty similar point to Gert.
And then what does Harvey do there? It looks like it intensifies significantly until a landfall in northern Mexico.
Basically, looks like it
opens
looks
up.
like Europe basically has it struggling until landfall, but then once it crosses, it basically rapidly strengthens.
Wow.
So what I can tell from that is that it opens up around 70 west, but then it starts to get its act together a lot in the Gulf of Honduras and becomes a tropical storm as it hits Belize. Past then, it's too far out to determine. Then again, the European did get Franklin pretty much on the money, so I mean, you never really know at this stage.
And whilst that's going on, that's 92L in the Atlantic there, was it? Heading northeast. And that draws
92L pretty much dies off
pretty close to
right on this
Newfoundland.
frame.
Pretty close to Newfoundland.
And then there's 93L.
System. Yeah, okay. Let's move on.
Different model. Let's go with the Canadian for the sake of...
Oh
dear.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Get the pants still made up and get straight jackets.
For the sake of using the Canadian.
Oh no.
I'll talk about it.
Okay, so develops all three, no doubt. Oh my goodness. That's worst case scenario, folks.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Really? Seriously, CMC?
Look how far out that is also, so...
Yeah.
What pressure is that? What pressure was
That's
that?
our 240.
What was the pressure of
Here?
92L when it was making landfall?
Jesus.
Down here or up here?
At peak.
The peak that it has here is 968.
Oh yeah. Probably category 2 then, but that is the CMC model, which is right around 0.00001% of the time.
Accurate.
Well,
There we go.
I wouldn't exactly say that because it's good, it's good with track forecasts once the storm forms. Apart from that,
Napian basically just kills Harvey, period.
Now wait, no, but 92 there becomes a significant system. And recurves.
Alright, I'll just stop explaining because you guys is a buzzkill anyways.
And then it recurves away from Lesser Antilles.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, okay, let's not
know what.
let's not show this model.
Oh no. What does it
What?
show?
No.
People have the right to know.
We have rights.
Then let's change regions, probably. Where
Well,
should we go?
well,
Is that a wise
No, wait.
idea?
well, take a look at the Central Pacific and see what's going on with those invests.
Bet you none of the models are forming.
Now there's the East Pac system there developing and moving off well out to sea.
Yeah.
90.
Yeah, but it basically just kills 90C, 91C, basically.
Yeah, they don't survive.
Pretty much just kills them.
I don't think it's that kills them, it's the subtropical jet.
And the
now-
European does not seem to be very much more optimistic with it
but
at
they
all.
all want the Eastern Pacific system to form now.
Why?
Yeah, they all seem to want to form it.
Yep.
Canadian.
Did you just... I thought you just said...
There it is going off again.
I don't think the Canadian
Weaker,
even
no.
supports it.
Yeah, and but no, but what is that moving away and forming
It's
over in the
fine.
Western Pacific after its origins in the Central Pacific there? Look at it go.
No, CMC is crazy. You know, it's, as Hank would call it, way too much cyclonic vorticity.
850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. I'm
Which
sorry.
is at impossible readings. Period.
Hmm?
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything really supports any of the Central Pacific invests. They all seem to be optimistic about the Eastern Pacific one now.
So it appears. Well, they love the Eastern Pacific, the models, and
Yeah.
it's been a busy one there so far, hasn't it?
We should check the West Pacific, because why not?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
I-
whilst we're at it, and
Okay.
then I'm just sorting a few things out over here before I bring you back with the latest.
I'm going to put a bet down saying none of the models predict anything.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's really anything here on GFS anyway.
I'm winning the bet so far.
And people usually expect the West Pacific to be quite active all the time, but it's come in drips and drabs this year, hasn't it?
I'll stuff.
Interesting.
Oh gosh.
Yours seems to want to develop, isn't it, 92W, I think it is?
Two rule latitude. 92W.
Right there.
92W, that's not it, is it?
That's
No.
not 92W.
I think it is.
Well,
Since I don't see anything.
92W is already above 30 north.
Exactly.
Oh, 92W is near Japan. Then, yeah. 92W is screwed.
Okay.
And yet that's put 100 plus in the reserve, so it's questionable. The deadly silence.
Well,
Alright, well, I think we've looked at that quite sufficiently now. Now we're looking at the
Yeah, not even CMC.
latest radar in the area for Harvey.
Stop.
And you can see
It's-
Harvey moving in on the right hand side there, approaching Barbados, and some rainfall approaching, if not occurring, on the southern half of that island, and just little bits here and there throughout the rest of the islands as well. As you can see, it's a small system. You can see it here on the radar. It's a small system moving in, but it could cause some tropical storm force winds, particularly in Barbados, I'd suggest, with some rainfall. But unless it unexpectedly intensifies some, I don't think it's going to be, wind-wise, particularly significant. But rainfall could again be an issue, like we've seen earlier in the year. We'll just leave that up for a moment or two, whilst something else occupies the screen and whilst it loads. Who's doing this?
Me. It's
So
wind shear.
Yep, wind shear here. Anyone want to offer their thoughts on that chart?
And it's favored.
I think you can. So I think this really illustrates that upper level I was talking about earlier. Just look at that over eastern Cuba. Like, you can really tell where it is, and you can also see that other trough, the Tut, even to the north of both Harvey and 92L. That's what's gonna shear 92L. That is what is shearing somewhat of Harvey.
I know it does get confusing. I almost called it something else as well.
Yeah, so it does look favorable until it gets to 70 west, and then just frowns off. But remember, this graphic can change, and as the upper level moves west, naturally, in between two troughs, you get ridging, and what that could do is could induce even more shear over the system. But it depends where in the troposphere it decides to develop.
The funny thing is, on the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone, they think that intensification will occur as it passes 70 west. They say 50 miles per hour at 69 west, and then 65 miles an hour by the time it gets to 77 west.
What's their reasoning on it?
I've not actually looked at what their reasoning for that is, but that's just what they say. They say light moderate shear should continue to at least 72 hours. And I think they're just following the ships and the LGEM models.
The last thing you want to do is follow the ships.
I know.
Why?
They do acknowledge.
Here's a better look at them.
They do acknowledge that GFS and ECMWF models still forecast degeneration to an easterly wave over the central Caribbean. But the National Hurricane Center following the trend of the ship's LGEM models. And the reason why they've not made it a hurricane this time is because they are factoring in the models output from the GFS and ECMWF.
Well, also that, and they've shifted their forecast cone farther south, hence hitting land. So that's probably another reason why they don't have it as a hurricane.
And this is a closer look at the two systems, 92L right here, Harvey right here. You can see the wind shear up there that Hank was talking about, and then kind of see the other wind shear over here towards the left near Haiti and Dominican Republic. And just a closer look. Meanwhile, while we're at it, let's look at Eastern Pacific if it'll load. Okay, there's Eastern Pacific, and you can see how the Eastern Pacific is looking right now. If you have any thoughts on that.
Well, let me just take a quick look at your screen share. Yeah, mess.
I've noticed one or two little comments about, obviously with the invests going on and one or two taking them out to sea, do you think there'll be any risk for Bermuda in the next week or two?
Depends on what 92L wants to do. If it wants to actually get its act together, which I think it's yes, it could be.
And people who haven't seen our streams before may not be accustomed to the tropical meteorology. You see on this image, Harvey's in the middle, one of the smallest ones. On the right-hand side is 92L. On the left-hand side, would you like to tell them about that system there, which seems to be the biggest, as you'd see in aerial coverage?
That is non-tropical. That's associated with the upper level low, but it's just firing a bunch of convection as the so what's going on is the winds are coming out of the Caribbean, but then they're hitting Hispaniola, and thus the air is rising and creating a bunch of these thunderstorms. So that's why there's a bunch of convective activity right there.
How is that affecting Harvey's strength, motion, size at all?
Motion for now, yes, but motion is mostly based on the trade winds, and it's not really affecting it now, but eventually that low will start to slow down, and Harvey will be faster than the low is moving. So then Harvey will start getting influenced by it and start getting, and more specifically, start getting sheared by it. And for those who don't know what shear is, it's basically upper level winds that are moving in different directions from the winds at the surface. So what that does, that tends to kind of push off some of the thunderstorms or make them, say, shorter.
Yeah.
And that's favorable for storms to strengthen and to get their organized shapes, and can take longer for them to get out of it and then strengthen.
Now we look at this imagery here, and you can see all those orange areas and some red areas there denoting dry air, or at least less moist air. Caribbean doesn't look all that bad, but the area in front of 92L not great.
Yeah.
And, well, what do you think of the HWRF's latest run that says it will intensify to a Category 1, moving west towards the Florida Keys?
Which one is this?
This was the latest HWRF run for 92L.
Okay, 92. It probably, well, does it keep it weak at first?
A weak tropical storm for about 3 days. Yep.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
So if it gets stronger, then it can interact with that trough more and get slingshotted to the northeast and recurve. So if it does become a tropical storm, it'd be weak until it gets into the Bahamas area. If it's already a thing by then it could strengthen more.
And that 92L is the one denoted by the orange cone there on the National Hurricane Center's map. As you can see, there's that other area of interest just south of the Cape Verde Islands at the moment, which could do something later on, day 4 and 5, 30% chance. And then, of course, you've got Harvey and what's left of Gert, which is gone, and we won't be mentioning it very much. Just to reiterate then, we have tropical storm warnings in effect for several places. Tropical storm warnings for Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and a tropical storm watch for Dominica. And as you can see there, 80% chance for that disturbance in the eastern Pacific as well in the next 5 days. A tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are expected somewhere within the warning area in the next 24 hours. In Barbados, it will be less than 12 hours. A tropical storm watch means that the tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area within 24 to 36 hours. Again, probably could be less than that. And as we bring us up back with the radar, if we can, of what's going on right now as Harvey enters the picture, and we'll keep you up to date with that. I'll see if I can get a new version of that imagery actually. And there's the latest on Gert, moving off towards the central northern Atlantic, far away from anything. Here's more recent radar imagery of what's going on. It looks like the bulk of the rainfall from Harvey is northeast of Barbados and may continue to be northeast of Barbados, and we'll just bring you back with that track map again, just in case you haven't seen it yet, what Harvey is expected to do according to the National Hurricane Center. And it's funny that they have it as I think they're underestimating its movement again there, much like with Brett, I believe, saying on that track map that it would take until 5 AM Friday Eastern Time. Is that Eastern Time? Atlantic Standard Time. For it to get near Barbados, but by the looks of things right now, the current time is... What time is it over there? It's 4 hours? 5 hours?
6:28 Eastern. The 6:28 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so, you know, it's... I'm looking at the map right now, and it's on the radar. It looks as though it's almost at the point, at that first landfall dot where they say it's going to be tomorrow morning. So, it's moving in on Barbados very quickly, and it's going to be, you know, the next 1-2 hours that Barbados will feel effects from the storm. Maximum effects, whatever they may be, maybe in 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4, before it moves away and then onto the rest of those islands overnight. But yeah, I just see that the National Hurricane Centre's saying it's going to move a lot more slowly than it is. Anyway, if you got any comments or questions for us, do send them in. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, and it will light up for me, and we can sift out the comments better. At least for my convenience. And oh, there's another view of the model spread, and 1 or 2 just clipping the southern coast of Jamaica there as well. Now, we saw another model consensus map earlier, and some of them did take them further north than what that one was just showing. Anyway, we'll move on. What are we looking at now? Are we going back to them?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it. The computer's really slow.
Alright.
Seems to be having technical issues.
Just a little bit slow over there. I can't help that.
Maybe because it's Skype. It's all their fault.
Something like that. David, have you got anything to offer us in this moment of quiet?
Got nothing, Nathan.
Okay.
My computer's also slow.
Well, if
It's
anyone
Skype.
fancies buying our members new equipment, they'll be much appreciated of, I'm sure. Anyway, are we getting onto this or what?
I don't know.
I'm trying.
Well, that's not the view right now. Okay, there we go.
He's trying his damnedest, but Skype won't let him.
So yeah,
Finally.
there's another
And now
view.
just-
There's another view, and you can see how some of those models take it further north and into Texas even,
Oh god.
and lots of
Okay, I'm gonna
comments
turn off my
elsewhere. I
screen
see.
I got to have screens share.
Isaac's on Discord.
help
Did you
me.
notice?
Help me.
We'll take it elsewhere. Whilst Isaac sorts out that little crisis of his out, back with the radar there. And I don't... Do you think that is the centre of the storm appearing on that radar there?
Maybe. It's kind of depending on...
Oh, what radar? I don't see anything.
That we're able to see... I mean, you'd have to watch the stream to see it, but...
Oh.
I think it is, actually.
I don't know. The storm looks awful small from that angle. It seems a little bit too small for the pressure that it has on its advisory cone.
It is showing quite a large area, though.
It is.
Anyway, back to that model, and that's changed again since we last saw it. What's different this time?
This
It looks like they geared it back
the
further
CM
north, I think.
This is a different model thing. This is the CMC, I believe this is ensemble models. So
Oh boy, CMC.
look at this one over here.
Alright. A lot of people mentioning.
That one should probably just be
A lot of people mentioning the
ignored
CMC.
because
I
it's
just
so
want
crazy.
to read out some comments. The previous run of the CMC picked up the area of disturbance north of Cuba, pushing it towards the Florida Keys, a tropical system. Any comments?
No.
Oh,
No.
they don't
No
want to comment.
comments.
They don't think it will happen. I highly doubt that 92L will recurve before Florida. That trough is not expected to move down before the landfall, in inverted commas. Any input on that, guys?
92 hours probably going to be dead. Just look at that. Look at that dry air right there. And then
For now.
it's going to be shared. It's going to be a shared mess. I mean, if it somehow does like a 99L of last year and gets under this and then comes out, it might be something. But it's like too far out to say that it'll be anything. So, but for now, we're expecting this to kind of struggle. And we'll see what happens over the next few days. And we obviously know what's going to happen with Harvey down here. And,
a quick one for you, Isaac. Did you think that Gert was a Category 3?
Yeah, definitely. It had that appearance, albeit for a short time. It had that appearance for a little bit. And if I scroll up over here, you might be able to see their post-tropical Gert up there on the top of your screen, right there. They're racing on off towards the northeast.
Yeah, long gone.
Yeah, that position has definitely changed since the 5 p.m. advisory. It's moving quickly.
It's moving at 40 miles an hour.
And do we have any consensus in here about how strong we think Harvey will be? What do you
I think
guys
it's too early to say.
Yeah, I guess it is.
I think we should probably see what it looks like post landfall.
Or post
Since
its
then we're
approach,
going
at
to
least.
have a better idea of what the Eastern Caribbean is going to do to it, and how that shear is going to
And here's another good one.
impact Harvey.
Here's another good one. Do you guys believe
So
that
I think maybe after it makes landfall, we can hone down on that a little more.
Do you guys believe that the models handled Gert well from pre-Genesis to post-Genesis intensity?
Not really. I think they were either too low or too high.
Yeah,
As the obvious case with HWRF and HMON.
But yeah, you can't really say that because they were almost right.
Well, none of them are right.
I mean, the intensity was way higher than it actually was, but everything else was pretty much just as far, if not farther off. Which therefore technically makes it the closest. So it wasn't a very good close.
It was a bit of a stupid forecast around H1 being one of them. Definitely being one of them. 60 miles an hour for
Craig, you're muttering to yourself over there. Okay, now we've got typing. Wonderful. Yeah, we're sort of hit a little bit of a wall here. But there's the model consensus again. And you can see there is quite a split. There's not really that many models in between. It's quite populated at either end of that intensity guidance, the low and high.
Don't mind this model over here. If it just take this model is out.
Just get rid of TCLP.
Some more interesting questions. We like them, by the way. Do you believe the GFS Euro upgrade impeded forecasts with tropical cyclones? Ensembles seem to be doing a bit better this season. Any thoughts on that?
Not for me.
I think the GFS is going to go under a major restructuring since the upgrade. Yep.
Okay.
It needs one for worldwide because the forecast for Norway was completely preposterous. It needs one badly worldwide for all the bases. The Atlantic's not that bad, but Westpac, what?
And I think we all know which storm looked the best this year, say Second World. Any guesses which? Good, he says. It depends.
I'm reading the comments in the stream.
I'm guessing
so
you mean
I
for the
knew what they
Atlantic
were
only. Some East Pacific storms looked better, of course, but I'm sure you mean the Atlantic. I mean, it didn't have much of a didn't have much of a contest, did it? Alright, more questions. More questions, let's take them. Do we think 92L could have a chance up near southeast Florida? Well, the HWRF thinks so.
Let's see that once here again.
Possibility.
Yeah. I mean, if it gets under that, if it somehow does a 99L, it gets under that wind shear, it might try doing something. But like I said before, it's kind of too far out to tell that. So, but for now, it's going to be circulating for the next few days. And then again, Harvey, we know what Harvey's going to do. Might as well pull up the track again for you guys in case you didn't see it before. Again, there's a track for Harvey. NHC expects it to peak at 70 miles an hour. Earlier, it had it peaking at 75 miles an hour. You can see that warnings all the way over here. I keep forgetting what these islands are, but there's Barbados right there under a tropical storm warning. Yeah. If you look over towards the Central Pacific, we could see, my computer will work with me. You can see we have a disturbance in the Central Pacific, has a 50% chance in the next 48 hours, and to the next 5 days it has a 60% chance of development. So, but earlier, yesterday it had, I believe, a 80% chance within the next 5 days, but it's gone lowered a little bit.
It down, didn't they?
Yeah, and then in the Eastern Pacific we have another area of interest, 60%
almost
chance.
Definitely going to form, isn't it?
Pretty much. Models are forecasting.
So if that's the models, then yes.
And then if we go back,
yeah, we got to put on some questions here. Well, Tropics Tracker tells me that they think Harvey will be 85 miles an hour. Could be a good call. Someone wants to know about the tropical wave near Hispaniola, which we mentioned. Hank said it was not tropical. And was associated with the upper level.
If you guys wanted to see the intensity models again, if you didn't see it, for that guy Tropics Tracker, you could see what the models are thinking of its intensity.
And about a comment about Katrina. That 92L will be Katrina. No. I don't see it.
Just no more.
And about people talking about predictions for the season. I mean, it's never too late to make a prediction. Stephen says 15 storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 majors. Not far away from what Force 13 predicts actually for the year. 15, 8 and 4 for us. So pretty close. And do we think this year will still be active? A lot of people saying it's a bust, but it's not over. You're saying it as if the first half of the year has been below average. People have got to realise that the last few years have been ridiculously active compared to the long-range record. Don't forget, overall, in the historic record, the average amount of storms every year is 12, and we're already up to 8.
Wagar, you realise that
people keep comparing this season to 2013. 2013 was an entirely different animal. We could expect a little bit more activity in 2013 in here, and it's just because people were just wanting Cape Verde or haven't seen Cape Verde type storms in a while, where they go through the Caribbean and become really strong storms. Last ones we had was Dean and Felix, really, and kind of Matthew as well, kind of too. But people were just wanting those to happen, and I mean, we just gotta wait. It's gonna take a little longer. Just gotta wait. It's just a waiting game. I mean, it's gonna happen inevitably. You just gotta wait for it. And I mean, I really don't want to have another major in the Caribbean. So that's just my opinion. And if anybody has anything else to say, go ahead. Because my screen share went out.
Well, you gotta realize,
Nathan, about that season footage, I think the reason that that the seasonal average is low might be due to the number of seasons where we didn't really know a lot about storms that went out to sea, and as a result, this brought down the number of storms in earlier seasons during the 18.
Yeah. Well, I know Craig wants to speak. We'll get to that in a moment.
What if we truly knew everything?
I think. I mean, can you really?
If we truly knew.
Can you really account for many of the storms that so far this year that wouldn't have been detected? Arlene wouldn't have been detected.
Arlene?
Can you think maybe one or two others, but would still be at 6 or storms, I reckon.
Maybe Anna of
20. I think it's
I'm talking about this year.
Oh.
Anyway, Craig, go ahead.
Added in basically all the unadded of possible fish storms during the early years. I think the average would probably be like 13 or 14 named storms.
Okay, but I'll talk more about that shortly. Craig, go ahead.
I was going to say, folk have been wondering why this year's been somewhat below average. But you got to realise, this year hasn't had any help from El Niños or La Niñas. Because the past 2 years have had help from full-blown El Niños. So that's the reason why. Because we're stone dead in full, and last year was El Niño. So
people have gotten conditioned to expect strong storms in the Atlantic every year in abundance, and that's just not the case. Doesn't usually happen. It's just what's been going on recently, but we won't labour that point anymore. We're looking at the latest radar imagery of Harvey approaching Barbados, and have we got a centre for it yet? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Hard to tell.
Well, it has to have a center if it's a named storm.
Well, Reconnaissance aircraft found one, of course, so it has a center, but where is it? It's still on near the edge of the scope, so I'm sure we'll see it in due course. Or maybe it is there in plain sight and we just haven't spotted it yet.
Maybe.
Well, it might be there, but we can't be sure about that graphic there.
Mm-hmm. And my Skype is being bad on me, so my screen share is ripped. So if any of you guys have a screen share to pull up, go ahead. I'm out pretty much.
All right, yeah. Let's see. We have some more questions. Let's see where we're up to. What do you think of 93E right now?
Well, definitely interesting. I mean, unlike with Tropical Storm Hova about a week or two ago, when it had to deal with a whole bunch of basically just like a wall of just high wind shear, this one's in a little bit of a better environment because the wind shear has lessened a little bit, and also it has more moisture to work with than Hova did. So it definitely could become something. Now I don't know how exactly strong it'll be, but it'll definitely might become a tropical storm, and it's just sad to see and not really affect land too much. But yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to fix the imagery. It's not updating at the moment for some reason. We'll get on to that. Let's see. What else have we got? Second World wants to know if any of you follow or know about Mark Sudduth, creator of Hurricane Track. I'm not sure why, but if you have any input, you could.
I think sort of Mark Sudduth mainly because Leighton talks about him on the Discord all the time.
Right.
But that's really the only thing that I know. So.
Okay. Another one here. Joe Bastardi tweeted that we may see a CONUS landfall this season, continental United States, mainly in the southeast US, mainly in part with the potential of a positive NAO in September. Do you agree with that idea? Anyone? For
anything's possible.
Well, the early
anything is possible. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
The early season indications for the hurricane season from Force 13 showed that the Outer Banks has a significant chance of of a tropical storm affecting it. As for hurricane landfalls, I think we were looking at the Texas-Mexico border, and you could yet verify with Harvey, but you never know with that. Those are the two probable hotspots, and I think you always look at Florida every year. It is probably the most likely place of getting hit by a hurricane in a given year. And how many hurricane landfalls? Hundreds. And of course, it was the site of the last major hurricane landfall 12 years ago.
Wilma.
In the United States.
Just imagine how many viewers we're going to have here once there finally is a major hurricane landfall in the U.S.
Well, it won't be about us, of course. We'll just be tracking the tropics and letting everyone know what's going on, as we did with Hurricane Matthew, which was a very crazy 5-day period.
Which was 24-hour coverage.
When we were on air for 104 hours. But there we go.
104 hours?
Yes. Someone tells us in Barbados the winds are picking up, apparently.
That's basically for 4.5 days straight.
Yes, I was talking for 52 of them. It's not great, is it? Anyway, back to the... we're looking at the HWRF here now. Who's showing us this? We've only got a few, minutes left, by the way. We're finishing at the end of this hour, and we'll have more updates throughout tonight. But go ahead.
I think the track is going to go to the north a bit.
Well,
right.
that depends on how. Go ahead.
No, it's a little bit too early, but I'm leaning towards. What's that? Jamaica.
You think?
Jamaica, towards Jamaica.
Well,
it's going to.
One or two models hinting at it clipping the southern coast of Jamaica and moving on. Now, that would indicate a stronger storm. The National Hurricane Center are sort of torn at the moment, aren't they? Because they don't know who's going to be right, with the ECMWF and the GFS saying that this storm won't form at all, or degenerate, or, well, of course it's formed, but it will degenerate. Or with the, what was it, the LGEM, was it? Or was it something else that they went with? Or and the ship's model saying that it will intensify, and of the HWRF, which they didn't mention, saying that it will gradually intensify throughout the Caribbean and strike Belize. Hank suggested that it would have to be a major hurricane for it to curve north more than that. So,
and I think personally, because of the low up to the north of it, that'll kind of be steering it. It should stay fairly weak, and because of that, it should stay a little bit more south than, well, not a little bit more south, but should stay more south than north, I would imagine. So unless it decides to intensify a little bit during that, which in that case it could go a little bit north. But in my personal opinion, I think it'll stay just fairly to the south, not really move much north because of that, because of the low to the top kind of steering it and kind of steering it basically due west. But that's just my opinion, and that's what I think might happen with Harvey.
Thank you for that.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to say it's going to track towards Jamaica, because Jamaica has, looking at their weekend rainfall, it is to increase. I reckon Harvey is going to track to the north of Cocoon, possibly edge towards the Yucatan Channel. I do not agree.
North of Cancun?
Yes.
Okay.
Or over it.
Well, that is that's pushing the boat out a bit. Could you bring us back?
And I'm also factoring in, Nathan, the ocean heat content. It's a lot more stronger if it was to adopt a bit of a northerly.
Well, of course, but wind shear might be high over there.
Well, wind shear, as we know, I haven't looked at the wind shear.
The National Hurricane Center said pretty much that it's okay for 3 days, and then wind shear may or may not pick up. But let me... oh, okay. What have we got here? That's the wind shear graphic
I'm just
again, yeah.
just so people who haven't seen. Sorry to steal your screen, so I'll
Okay,
let
till it
you have
gets
it
to
back.
70 west.
Here. And if we zoom out a little bit, and then my screen share goes again. Okay.
All right, David,
But,
could you come back with... Yeah. I want to see the imagery of 92L right now before we finish up here.
Oh, I have
92L, okay.
There.
You have it as well?
There's,
yeah, there's a picture of the whole scene.
Well,
any late imagery of 92L?
Well, I have water vapor, but that's all I have for the latest. If it'll load. Bear with me here. There it is.
No,
should be on your screen in a few seconds.
Yeah, we've got it. Not much better, I don't think.
Not really. Just a little bit blow up of convection right here, and a 92L kind of struggling with the dry air in front of it right there.
Harvey doesn't look too bad, does it?
Yeah, not really.
Not too bad.
And then you can see
40 miles an hour, maybe 45 at a push.
Maybe reload it for you.
What else have we got here? People talking about storm predictions and how the Atlantic's ahead of 2016 so far. Yeah, it's true. Though, how do you think we're doing for Ace compared to 2016? I think Harvey and Gert had a lot to... Not Harvey, Franklin and Gert had a lot to say about that. Any comments on the lackluster West Pacific season so far, apart from Nauru?
Well, I think that 2010 analog is starting to come up in good shape.
Well, maybe.
Since wasn't 2010 inactive in the West Pacific last time I...
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's the most inactive.
But also in the East Pacific, it's nothing like that this year. But even in quiet years like that, the East Pacific had a Cat 5, the West Pacific had Meggy, 885 millibars. You never know what the year will spring upon us. And also, did we broadcast Hurricane Thomas in 2010? Well, no, because Force 13 didn't exist in 2010, believe it or not. Force 13 started up in 2011, and we didn't do any storm updates until the middle of 2012. And we didn't do any live updates until early 2015, so still a rather new thing for us.
Yeah, we didn't exist in 2010. Well, I mean, we were living, we just weren't doing this.
We were living, thank you very much for that. We're more than 5-6 years old. And more questions. Will it hit Cancun? I think that seed has been planted by David there. Look, Cancun is a possibility, but I would say it's unlikely at the moment, unless Harvey becomes significantly stronger than what is being predicted. I do, though, agree with the sentiment that the models are more likely to shift north than south.
The NCEP GFS, they're showing the lending support to my position.
Okay. Well, that's obviously something that we'll be looking at in the days to come. But only speculation at this point. But it could be anywhere along that coast of the Yucatan, and it seems to be the Yucatan again that we're looking at, isn't it? It's a hotspot this year.
How many times has it been a hotspot this year?
But we can't. I just have to stress, we can't guarantee that Cancun will or will not be safe from Harvey. It could be the case that Harvey dies in the Central Caribbean. We have a lot of more questions. We're just about finished here, but I'll just bring these questions quickly. Do you believe Nauru became a Category 5 super typhoon? Yes, personally.
Yes.
Do you guys think this year will be close to 2004 or 5? Probably not. I would say something more like 2010 or 1998, or 2001 even. And what do you guys think about the eclipse and the effects of higher surges that may cause some altering effects with MS92 and Harvey? That's an interesting question. We don't really have time to go into depth with that, unfortunately. What place do you think Harvey will hit? Well, we've been discussing the whole show. It's speculation. All that we know right now is that tropical storm warnings are rightfully in effect for Barbados and for several of those other islands, Martinique, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Tropical storm watch for Dominica, and I wouldn't look much further ahead than that right now. Though we can speculate just a little bit on that. And the coast of Yucatan, everyone along the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula should be watching, but it could be the case that the storm moves into Honduras and Nicaragua. It could yet be the case that the storm moves towards the northern Yucatan. We just don't know. That's it from us for now. We've been joined by the Skype team for the last 2 hours. Thanks very much for joining us, guys.
Anytime.
Yes.
Anytime.
Very good.
And I'm sure we will have
anytime.
another time.
Have a good evening, people.
I'm sure we'll have another time very soon indeed. Thanks, guys. And from myself, no, we don't want to look at that so much. Or I don't suppose you want to look at me so much either, but finishing off the show here. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again very soon with some more information. You can follow us on our social platforms. Just search Force13 on Facebook and Twitter. You can add me on Skype, Fool13, FOOL13, if I don't trip over words, at extension 9094 on Discord. And we will have more updates throughout the life of Harvey. We will probably go live again some point tomorrow. We'll have some recorded updates in the meantime. But until then, that's all from us for now. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Good night. You can follow Force13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force13, and it's at Force13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat.